Hello, everyone. Today, we'll be reviewing the Dune movies. First, I'd like to explain why these films have made such a big impact with a brief summary. But before we dive in, if you're not subscribed yet, please don't forget to subscribe. For those who aren't familiar, Dune is one of the most important works of science fiction literature, or more precisely, of fantastical science fiction. The book contains plenty of fantastical elements, such as the massive underground worms on the planet Dune. But let's set those aside and get into the core of the story. You might find this hard to believe, but the foundation of the Dune story is quite similar to The Matrix. Thousands of years ago, artificial intelligences, or thinking machines, as they're called in the book, started an uprising against humanity and enslaved all people. Humanity remained enslaved for a long time, but eventually, they managed to successfully revolt against the machines. As a result, they destroyed all the thinking machines and banned their recreation. Over time, this ban turned into a kind of taboo, and the fear of machines re-emerging became a deeply ingrained belief. In place of computers, mentats took over the role people who essentially functioned as human computers. Mentats are individuals capable of performing complex calculations in their minds. But not everyone can become one. You have to be naturally gifted and undergo special training. Mentats also serve as strategic advisors, though even they can't do everything on their own. Especially for highly sensitive tasks like space travel, mentats fall short. That's where the planet Dune and the substance known as spice come into play. Spice enhances intuitive abilities and mathematical processing skills. Those who use it develop blue eyes, and long-term use can cause mutations. Another important group in the Dune universe is the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood, a group of women we might loosely call witches, though readers of the book might object to such a simple label. The Bene Gesserit have been running a long-term breeding program to bring forth a chosen one. These women can determine the gender of their offspring while giving birth. Additionally, they use a technique called the voice to hypnotize others with the correct frequency. For example, if they say kill yourself to someone, that person will do it, even if they don't want to. Readers of the book will quickly recognize this. The concept of the Force from Star Wars was likely inspired by Dune's voice technique. In fact, Star Wars borrows from Dune in many ways, but let's stay on topic. One last thing you need to know before watching the film. In this universe, nearly everyone uses a special shield. This shield can block attacks of only certain speeds, so you need to know a specific technique to fight effectively while using it. What I've said so far should more than suffice to help you grasp the basics of the movie. Thanks to the director, the film prioritizes those who've read the book. Though some parts are explained, instead of rushing through the story, only half of the first book has been adapted for the film. I'm being very serious when I say that in the future, Dune could hold the same place in pop culture that The Lord of the Rings does today. By watching it in theaters, you'll be able to say in the future, I saw this film on opening day or in the first week. But for that, the series needs to be completed. If only the first Lord of the Rings movie had been released, it would have been hard to grasp the significance of the work. The same goes for Dune. Dune, as a fantastical work, feels truly extraordinary. Especially if you watch it in a high-quality cinema, you might experience bursts of dopamine and estrogen in your brain throughout the film at least. That's how I felt. The film's music is also excellent. Hans Zimmer realized a childhood dream with this project. In an interview, when asked what he did in his free time, he said, "One day they're going to remake the Dune movie, and I need to be ready for that day." For years, he'd been working on the music in drafts. In short, the soundtrack is fantastic. Instead of overshadowing the film, Zimmer created an incredible atmosphere that comes in just when the movie needs it. However, I must admit that when I heard Zimmer had worked on this for over 10 years, I had even higher expectations. I later learned that much of Zimmer's compositions were saved for the sequels. He composed so much music that it feels like he worked not just for one film, but for the entire series. We can expect to hear truly amazing music in the sequels. This reminded me of what we experienced in the Pirates of the Caribbean series, where Zimmer also provided a wide range of musical brilliance. The film's visual effects and overall design are also highly successful. In particular, the decision to stay away from a cyberpunk aesthetic for the spaceships and technological tools was a wise choice. Since thinking machines don't exist in this universe, cyberpunk-style ships would have contradicted the logic of the world. Like many, when reading the book, I envisioned a more organic, less cyberpunk world in my mind. The film fully met these expectations. Another standout aspect of the film is Rebecca Ferguson's performance as Jessica. Her acting completely captivated me. However, if you haven't read the book, you might find her performance overly dramatic, as if she's constantly crying or whining. But when you consider Jessica's situation and awareness, Ferguson's portrayal fits the character perfectly. The first film tells the story of Paul Atreides and his family taking over the governance of the planet from the Harkonnens. However, the Harkonnens plot to reclaim the planet by trying to destroy the Atreides family, forcing Paul to navigate this complex and dangerous world while finding his own destiny. The movie explores Paul's growth as a leader, his adaptation to the harsh conditions of Arrakis, and his relationship with the native Freeman people. At the end of the first film, Paul Atreides and his mother, Lady Jessica, had found refuge among the Freemen after escaping the Harkonnens' tyranny. Paul's reunion with Chani, a woman he had often seen in his dreams, not only forged a special bond between them, but also laid the foundation for the great uprising against the Harkonnens. In the sequel, we see Paul and the Freemen in a stronger position, while on the Harkonnen side, Baron's weakening grip on power and Glosser Rabin's repeated failures pave the way for the rise of a new hero. This hero, despite having limited screen time, stands out for his brutality and ruthlessness from his initial black and white appearances. On one side, there's a potential messiah who could bring the Freemen their long-awaited green paradise, and on the other, a psychopathic serial killer who serves as a glimmer of hope for the Harkonnens' return to power. Beneath the star of Timothée Chalamet, the story's most talked-about support comes from Rebecca Ferguson's portrayal of Lady Jessica. Additionally, Javier Bardem's portrayal of Stilgar, a character who has captured the internet's attention, plays a pivotal role in the film's connection with the audience. In fact, he might even overshadow the other characters a bit. Frankly, these extra touches are necessary because, while the film exceeds technical expectations, it occasionally neglects both the series' readers and the general audience in its storytelling. We find ourselves feeling distant from the emotional worlds of the characters, which is not a new flaw for Villeneuve. He admits, "I hate dialogues," and adds that making a movie with no dialogue at all would be heaven for him. This tendency somewhat diminishes the potential of the Dune series. In this journey of heroism, with a half-finished love story running in the background, we don't see enough of Paul's emotional world or the bond between him and Chani. Naturally, this detachment extends to other characters as well. For example, while Phaedratha is introduced as a powerful ancient hero, we don't gain any significant insight into his motivation or story. Or take Princess Irulan, played by Florence Pugh. Though she's a crucial part of the plot, she doesn't quite feel like she belongs in the world. These character development flaws continue to stand out throughout the story. Even Frank Herbert's son has described the film as the closest adaptation to my father's vision. However, despite its impressive visual splendor, the film falls short of reaching its full potential due to the lack of focus on character development and storytelling layers. Still, this doesn't change the fact that Dune is one of the greatest films of recent years. The grandeur that Villeneuve brings to the screen, drawn from this vast source material, is fed by his own unique cinematic style. It's no easy feat to bring to life a world that many directors could only dream of, while fully utilizing the visual and auditory powers of cinema. For Villeneuve, who began creating Dune concept sketches as early as his teenage years, this film is a childhood dream come true, and you can observe the meticulous craftsmanship in every technical detail. In the end, as Hans Zimmer's otherworldly compositions echo in our minds, we leave the theater with the indescribable feeling of having witnessed a series that may define our generation. The director, who described the first film as an appetizer and the second as the main course, seems to have kept his promise. The Dune series should be experienced in the best conditions possible. So, what did you think of the film? Did you enjoy it? Don't forget to share your thoughts with me.